Hi, this is Robbie from Southern California, and today I'm going to talk about, because we're now in the spring here, what I'm going to start doing. And if you've got ideas that you want me to either talk about or give my ideas and thoughts, please put them in the comments, because I may not get to every single one, and sometimes I get to them a year later. That is, answer. I read them. I do go through and read them. I'm excited because spring is here for us in Southern California. We're going to be a little cool. They're still predicting 47 degrees at night. But here's the thing. I've walked through and I see in totes with nothing in there, seedlings growing. Mostly tomatoes. They seem to end up everywhere. That gives me the thought that we can start planting. And I'm going to do a lot more field trips this year and take you with me. Sometimes I'll be live. And sometimes I won't be, and I'll have to put it on afterwards, because some stores and some places don't appreciate that. I'm going to work on my bird garden, which I'm sitting here right now. Absolutely beautiful, my favorite place. It's someplace I can get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, and just unwind. And you can do this anywhere. You can do it even a simple bird feeder and a couple flowers around on a deck. The smallest area, the footprint doesn't matter. It's how you feel sitting there. Now this year, I definitely will not be growing in cardboard boxes. I did it a couple years ago and I did it a few times. And I am going to keep cardboard pretty much out of my garden. Now we're talking about corrugated cardboard, like you get shipping boxes sent to you. I've done some research on it, and it kind of makes sense that it may not be the best thing to put in a garden. I know a while ago, one of the big companies said, go ahead and take our boxes, I'm not going to say their name with the A, and compost it. And then they pulled that. I noticed afterwards it changed. It could be changed again, I don't know, to throw it out in the trash. Now, when I use cardboard in my totes, and I only put a little bit here and there, I've noticed that when I go back later, the corrugated cardboard, I'm not talking about toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls, but the corrugated cardboard seems to be there. I know some of you swear that your earthworms eat it and all that. Well, maybe, and that could be. But when I use that in my garden, I ended up with fruit and vegetables, I should say, that grew and then stopped. I had to throw away the cardboard because all it did was grow black mold. I know you can't see it, but the green bowl on the top has spice finches already in it. That's something else I got to change in here. We'll talk about that in a few minutes on the birds. And then roly-polies and slugs and earwigs, everything was hiding in the wonderful makeup of the corrugated cardboard. So I couldn't find anything good besides being free. Sometimes free isn't all of that good. And you can go spend $5, $6 or go to the dollar store and get something there at Dollar Tree for $1.25 and grow in that. And that will last you for years, where a cardboard box, to me, no. Now, let me tell you what I can tell you on this, and you think about it. I don't even have to tell you what's in cardboard besides all kinds of stuff. And you can Google it yourself, toxins in corrugated cardboard. And of course, it's not going to be all, but it's going to be too much for me. The companies buy boxes. Now, they're not calling a company and saying, hey, I need these boxes today or tomorrow because we have X amount of shipping. Can you imagine when some of these big companies calling and saying, hey, we've got all the shipments and you need to make us a this size box and get it to us in the next couple days because we have to ship it out? It doesn't work that way. They may be ordering boxes, but they're ordering boxes from these companies that are making the cardboard boxes. Now, these cardboard boxes are in warehouses, okay? Think about this. I think once I explain this, you'll go, So as these boxes in a million sizes are being stacked and waiting for customers' orders, they're sitting. Now, you tell me, see a hummingbird in the hummingbird's lunch, just to the right. If you went and took cardboard boxes and let's say put them in your garage or someplace not in your house, just someplace else off to a bedroom even. You could even say a bedroom. And you stack them there for a year. You are going to tell me you're not going to end up with, let's say, silverfish, roaches. Who knows what will go in there? Anything to live. It's a perfect living space for them. Now, they can't have that because that's the last thing you would need is to get an order, and you open up your shipping order and there is silverfish crawling all over, even one, and a roach coming out. No, there is something in the cardboard to keep it from getting critters to live in there, and even keep it from getting moldy. There's some sort, let's call it preservative, okay? Oh, look, I don't know if you can see them. Let me see if I can zoom in for a minute. Oh, she left already. The male is courting the female. I love the doves, but they're eating too much food. I'm gonna have to block them out of a lot of feeders. Okay, so there's something in there. Something, let's say a toxin to critters, so they won't live in there. They won't set up nests in there and lay eggs. There's something in there. Do I want to put that in my garden where I want the microbes to grow and feed and take care of my plants and earthworms and all that? No, I don't. So this is a personal thing. I think the cardboard, corrugated, belongs in one place when we get it, the trash. Now, sometimes I'm setting up containers and I may use a piece of cardboard or a couple strips of cardboard in my totes, like the ones I'm setting up for the birds to come get the insects, and I do cut it up and put it on the top, and that's to keep the moisture in instead of putting the lid on. But it's not going into my soil. And I did try it. I put it on the sides of my totes when I was building those boxes, or I should say totes, for the birds to come in and eat the, let's say, the little gnats and flies to feed their babies. But it didn't break down. It didn't get, I'm going to say, mushrooms and fungi and all that. It just got black mold, and I eventually pulled it out and threw it away. The ones laying on the top didn't do anything. It's exposed to the air. We're not going to get microbes exposed to the air anyways. Remember, they grow, or I should say, produce under the soil, but they need oxygen. That's why you don't want to flood out your totes, because your soil, your compost has oxygen in it. So I'm going to stay away personally from cardboard. That is up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to garden. If you've had great luck, go for it. But I like to create soil that is alive as nature does it. When the leaves fall, they decay. And like I always tell you, whatever's on top is not breaking down. Whatever is just underneath the surface is what's starting to turn into our compost. That's something else I have to be careful of. And I know I'm bad on that. I do call compost soil because I grew up that way. I'm a city girl. Or dirt. I'd come in, I'd be making mud pies, and my mom would be like, oh my gosh, you've been in the dirt. Oh, here come all the spice finches. You've been in the dirt, you know. And so I do use the word dirt or soil in the wrong aspect, but you'll catch on as I'm talking. Basically, soil, if you want to get real technical, is rock, something that came out of a volcano and over millions of years is breaking down into like sand, something that wasn't ever alive, but it did come from the earth. It wasn't made by man. It's basically crushed rock. It could be shale, it could be clay, it could be anything like that. That is actually soil. What plants actually grow in is compost. Again, you're going to hear me mess up all the time, but you'll get used to it. Compost is something that did grow, that was once alive. It could be from mushrooms and fungi and plants, and it breaks down the leaves, the bark, the trunks of the plants, anything. That, wood chips, was once alive, and that's what compost is, the breaking down matter of something that was once alive, including anything you eat from the kitchen. If you're eating it, it was once alive. Let's hope. I don't think you're chewing on rocks. And yes, even animal manure. I make my own compost, and I do call it free soil. I do it as nature does. Nature's been doing it for millions of years. There's no reason to go out and buy a ton of stuff, though there is nothing wrong with buying some bag potting soil, especially for new seedlings, maybe to get your plant started on the top. Basically, most of your bagged potting mix or potting soil, they used to call it potting soil, and I think they switched it years ago to potting mix. Oh my gosh, look at the baby bunny. I told you the other day there's been baby bunnies. Look down to the right. I don't want to move. I'm literally sitting here behind my camera. I am so excited. I haven't seen him. If I even move my arm besides my lips, he will leave. Oh my gosh. I guess Notch had babies. Oh my gosh, is that too cute? You know, I bought rabbit food and they won't eat it because they're used to eating what's in the garden. It still was worth a try. I'm going to see if I can reach over. No, he took off. He's in the bushes here. So there's nothing wrong with buying it. I do buy it too. I start my seedlings that way. You know how I bake the soil so we won't have gnats. And that is great. But if you're doing big time, you're setting up raised beds. If you're going to go buy bags of soil, oh, here we go again, see? Potting mix, or garden soil they call it, which would be a mix of all kinds of stuff. It could cost you $300 to fill a big garden bed, if not more, depending on what you buy. If you've got the money, go for it. Buy what you want. I make my own. Look at Gary's garden. You've seen the garden tours. He's growing everything in what's coming out of his own garden. And if you remember, I can do an update on that one day to show you what it actually looked like 8 years ago, 9 years ago. It was nothing but a bed of clay, hard rock clay. And you couldn't grow anything there. And he has changed this simply by bringing in wood chips. And then as he started to grow collard and different things, even the Brazilian peppers trees that he planted there that he does not like because it's taking from his garden, even those leaves are creating the compost, which I say soil, that everything is growing in. That's nature. We don't have to spend a lot. You have a deck, a tiny little deck, a little patio. Oh, look at you can't see it, but all the spice finches are in that homemade feeder I made. That keeps the doves out. Straight ahead, they're swinging. If you have a tiny deck or patio, the moment you grow your first plant, as it's coming up, you're going to start creating your own compost. If you're going to grow a little lettuce head, I grow romaine lettuce because it grows the best for me, in a little tiny flower pot. Those first leaves on the bottom that you're not eating that are turning yellow, you don't throw that away. You can either save it in another bucket or push it back in the soil. That is you creating free compost. And not only by pushing it back in the soil are you just getting rid of it, out of sight, out of mind, you're feeding your plant. The plant itself will feed off of itself. It's not actually using the leaf that you're pushing in the soil. What it's doing is you're pushing it in there and the microbes are going to find it, even if you don't have earthworms, and they're going to start munching on it, and everything the microbes give off like earthworms is going back to your plant. It's a cycle of life. We don't need to spend a lot of money. I want to get into a lot of different things this spring, especially if I can sit here and enjoy my garden. And I am here. If I raise my hand to show you I'm here, I'm hoping the birds won't leave. See, I'm here. Oh, see? I'm sitting literally 8 feet from them. I want to talk about a lot of this because if you don't have the money, I know some of you come to me and say, I can't garden, I can't afford it. Yes, you can. Go buy yourself a name brand. And the reason I do a name brand is some of the off brands I've never heard about, well, they're making their compost from things that were collected like off of golf courses or people's lawns. I mean, even the hillsides around here that are brown have been sprayed with weed killer. And some of that stuff can last for years. You won't be able to grow in it. Your plants will start to grow, they'll turn yellow, they'll die, and you'll blame yourself. And it was never your fault. I don't like endorsing companies because somebody may not like them, and maybe I do, but there are some companies that they don't like that I have never had a problem with. And periodically you'll see the bag around here. It's one of the cheaper bags of potting mix, but I have never had a problem, which means they must test the soil or the compost before they bag it. And if the companies don't, and I heard it's very expensive because it's not just taking one little test, it would have to be testing so much, and I heard it can cost hundreds of dollars, if not more. The whole pile would have to be tested because one spot could be okay and another spot could be very bad for plants. Well, some of those cheaper brands, I've never been able to do anything. And I don't want you to blame yourself when you try something like buying a cheap bag from, let's say, one of the dollar stores and trying to grow something. I did. And the lettuce came up and sat there at 1 inch tall and was yellow and never grew. Because the bag I bought, the compost, for $1 something, had contaminations in it. I've got a tote sitting here with some off-brand bags I bought that was potting soil or potting mix that have been sitting now. It's going to be its second year now that nothing will grow and not even weeds. That's how bad that soil was. So I'm going to stick with what works for me, and that's what I want you to do. Stick with what works for you. And if you're not sure, go with the M. I'm just going to say that because I'm not endorsing any products. And I have never had any problems with them. I know a couple of you said you have, but you know what? I've used a lot of their bags and I've never had a problem with it. Don't get the most expensive, just get potting mix. Usually it's a yellow bag. If you read it, they also do put in some plant food in there. Is it synthetic? Yeah, but you know what? It's not gonna last long. Your plant's gonna use it and you're gonna start pushing leaves in there and you're gonna make your own potting mix or growing medium or compost as time goes on. I do believe everyone and anyone can garden anywhere. I am growing mushroom plants, and that's a green plant, and it tastes like mushrooms. I absolutely love it, on my windowsill all winter. I went from one plant to a whole windowsill full of them, because as I pulled the stems off and used the leaves, I stuck the stem in another pot with some more potting mix, and it just keeps growing. So we'll talk a lot about that. Kitty litter. I know a lot of you have asked me about kitty litter. I love kitty litter, but it has to be a special one. And I'll do a full video on that again, because if you buy the wrong kitty litter, you could end up having, well, let's say your plant's not growing. So with the cheapest kitty litter, the one that I get that's like $5 for 25 pounds, it works fantastic. If you're doing succulents, indoor plants, it's a miracle for that. You can keep gnats out of your plants. You can hold water in areas like in Arizona and Nevada where you're getting hot. This will be just so perfect, better than perlite or vermiculite, which is so pricey to buy. And this just works great. I'm actually propagating in it and everything. So we'll do a lot more on that. If you want to hear more on kitty litter and you're doing indoor plants, tell me and I'll go into that, because it is a dream to me. What else can we talk about? Water. I use tap water. If you can drink your tap water, so can your birds and so can your plants. So I don't worry about that. And I use that for the hummingbirds, though I do have a filtration system. I'm just letting you know that you can use tap water if you can drink it, because think about it. They're going out into the world and they're drinking out of the street. So anything you offer them is going to be 100 times better. Tell me what you're interested in. Are you interested in bird feeders? I've made these feeders now and I can keep the doves out. I guess I moved too much. Everybody left. Plus they've been eating all morning. So we're in a later part of the morning, not that late. We're not even noon, but the more I move, the more they think, what is she sitting here in the garden talking to her camera with a stand on it? Tell me what you want as my thoughts. I'm not saying I'm the guru and I'm telling you everything is right. No, I'm just telling you what works for me. I'm hoping may spark something that will work for you. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to preach to you and tell you this is the way, because you know what? Something that works so perfect for me may not work for you. Something that works perfect for you may not work for me. Something that works for you may even work for me too, and that would be interesting and fun to experiment with. So the thing is, you can grow. It doesn't matter how big or how small. And you can grow food for yourselves. And I'm going to do a lot more in pots. Even though I have been using pots, I'm changing over, not changing, I don't want to scare you. I'm not getting rid of any totes. I'm going to grow a lot of things in totes, but I'm analyzing what has been really good. Potatoes will all be in buckets this year. Why? Because I can pick it up. It's a 5-gallon bucket, tip it out. I've even done smaller buckets. Get my potatoes out, put everything back with some leaves from the garden, throw a potato back in there and go on my merry way, and in 3 months I'll have another bucket full of potatoes. How easy can that be? Now, I wouldn't suggest to grow potatoes if you're working on a little tiny deck, only because you don't want to take your space up just with potatoes. You want to grow greens at that point. The doves are courting. The most important food that we can grow, I do believe, are greens, and that's the easiest food to grow. Lettuce, your brassicas, which is your kale and your collard, your herbs. You know why it's so easy? Some of you are saying, I can't grow it. The bugs get to them. You don't need the bugs. You don't need pollinators. You're not collecting your seed off your lettuce. You don't want your lettuce to go to seed. Maybe later you do. The point is you can cover all that with tulle, and tulle is my favorite thing in the garden. Tulle, my favorite. As soon as it starts to grow, you get whatever color, and I'll put the link below where I get my tulle on eBay. I love eBay. I used to sell on there for close to 15 years. You get the tulle, you cover up your plants, and voila, no bugs. Now, don't wait until the bugs go on there and then cover it, because now you've created like an ant farm where you got happy bugs covered and living a happy life. No, you're going to cover it right from the beginning, and that includes your brassicas. No bugs. Cabbage, no bugs. Brussels sprouts. All that can be covered because we're not looking for pollinators, okay? The easiest thing for any of us to grow. So give that a thought. Even radishes, though I don't get a lot of bugs in radishes. Whoa, something scared everybody. All I'm trying to say is you could cover those if you wanted to. Now, flowers is different. That's going to bring in your pollinators, and that's why you do not want to cover your flowers unless you're going to eat them, and then you do what you want. So you can grow whatever it is you want to grow. I'm telling you, it's easy. I know someone that told me they can't, all these years. Now, I know this person too well, and I knew they could. Why don't you make a garden? No. Why? I can't. You know what that word meant? I can't. I don't want to. I'm not interested. It's too much work, which it isn't. I'm not going to do it. Leave me alone. That's what the word I can't meant to me. When things changed and the pandemic hit, let me tell you something. That person that told me for 10 years they can't has the biggest garden now because they could. They just didn't want to. And at that point, they looked at their yard and thought, I know I can. I knew they could. And created a beautiful garden with almost no work. Yes, they got a weed and they keep everything and compost it. And that's the way it's supposed to be. But the point is you can. Do not tell me you can't. I don't care where you are. Like I said, you can grow food on the windowsill. You can grow different herbs on the windowsill. You can design a bedroom and just to grow plants, a bookcase to grow plants. There's things you can grow if you're determined enough. And that's the whole idea of gardening. You've got to want to. And let me tell you something. Once you start, I don't think you're going to ever give it up. I really don't. I tried when I moved here back in 1988, and the squirrels were eating everything, and I didn't garden in totes. I didn't cover with tulle. And let me tell you something. I still got tons of food, but it was so much work, I decided I wasn't going to. And then when Gary went gluten-free, he became determined to grow a garden because he wanted better health. Since he felt so good going gluten-free, his arthritis healed up, he could smell again. Can you imagine? He lived his life, he had no sense of smell. He didn't know. We didn't know what it was. And he decided he was going to make a garden. He's the one that brought in all the wood chips. And this is how YouTube for us started. Because I was making videos for his family because he stayed here when he came from Australia. And I wanted them to know he's okay. I didn't hold him back. I didn't kidnap him. I didn't kidnap him. This is what he's doing. And it just took off and exploded on YouTube. That's how the whole thing started. I never planned on doing YouTube. I had a full-time business, a couple of them going, including eBay. But now I want to slow down. Yeah, right. That's why I keep building a new garden every year. But I love gardening. Even if I make plans and don't get to them all, the garden is constantly evolving. Whether I'm doing something in there or not, things are falling to the ground and growing. So it's a win-win for me. I think I've talked too much right now. And I usually do that, like when I come on live. 5 minutes, an hour later. We're going to get off. Another 15 minutes later. You know me. I know you're all laughing. But I want to hear what you want to know. I know some of you want to know how to do rosemary and different, propagating different plants. And I'm going to get to that. I'm taking one tomato plant and turning it into a dozen. So all I have to do is buy one fancy tomato for $5 from the store. And voila, I've got a dozen if I want. I'm doing that. Planting seeds, doing it in unique ways. Maybe in paper cups so I don't even have to transplant anything. Not using the peat moss cups because let me tell you something, half the time they don't work and they're a waste of money. There's so many things we can do. Put me in a direction of what you want me to do. Give me ideas and thoughts. And with my bird garden, I want to expand the bird garden and change it a little bit. I'm not going to tear out anything that's growing beautiful, but I'm going to add to it, groom it up a little bit, and make sure all the birds here are safe. And that's why you see all that wood on top. It's like, why in the world did she drag sticks all over and branches and twist it on top? To stop the hawks. Oh, they fly through here. Don't kid yourself. But sometimes when I'm sitting here, he'll try to maneuver through. And by the time he can maneuver through, the birds are long gone or deep into the plants. And that's why I do things. I know a lot of you look and see things. What is that? I don't even think about it. There's stuff I'm still doing that I really have to get out there and tell you about. Like, has anybody ever saved medicine bottles? I had a whole bucket of them probably for 30 years that if anytime there was a medication or something, I'd save the bottle and Gary'd say, why? Because I'm going to do something with it. Oh boy, am I doing something with it now. We save things, some of us, and we don't know what we're going to do with it. Well, I've got good things I can do with that. So I'm going to make more fountains this year, different types. We can do it live. I did one live recently, and I had no idea what I was doing, and it came out beautiful. I can come live in the bird garden, so you can ask me questions. And like I said, anything I tell you is my opinion or something I heard, and I do research. That's very important to me. It always has been. And I also, my biggest thing since I was a little kid is observe nature. And there's some things that people have told me that have been absolutely ridiculous in life. And that's why I've done a lot of different things in my lifetime and still am. And sometimes things were sparked because somebody said something that didn't make any sense to me. I look, at things and they'll tell me a story and I'll go, that is absolutely not true. And I don't even know where it starts, some of these things. So that's how I kind of do my life. So now we're getting up to 30 minutes. And like I said, I wanted to keep this short, but that's okay. Because you can listen to this. There's nothing here but the birds and the baby bunny that came by before. I'm so excited because I've only seen them run by so fast. I thought at first the other day it was a rat. And then he turned around and then I noticed he had a little white cottontail on the back. And I thought, oh no, he's a baby bunny. So give me ideas on what you want to talk about. We're going to be starting to put things in the ground here. Like I said, I see seedlings coming up in totes around here and buckets and in the ground. So I think I can start putting out certain things. I'll hold back on things like watermelon because they want the nights to be warm and 47 is still too cold. But we're getting close. I can start that in the house. I know a lot of you told me you may not even be planting till May, but there's a lot of things you can start now. Peppers is a big thing. Let me tell you something. I've got peppers sitting in a pencil box for over 6 months now. So you can start peppers. Tomatoes, you could start certain tomatoes right now and just think about what you want to grow. What do you want to grow? And lettuce, you can start that at any time. If it doesn't work out and you can't get it out, eat them as microgreens. But I think there's a lot of stuff we can start to think about because I know you may be under snow, some of you, even now, but once that snow disappears, that's nature. It melts and nature signals all the plants it is time to grow. And that's when if you've got walking onions, start poking out through the snow and start to grow flowers, poke through the snow, because now we're going into spring and the birds are breeding and everybody's happy and soon it will be beautiful everywhere. So hang in there. Just think about where we are, what time of the year we are, and before you know it, you'll be planting. So I hope I've given you a little bit of seed for thought, or I should say planted a seed. It's food for thought and planted a seed. And think about composting, saving all your own leaves, maybe even going to the park, take a walk, bring a bag with you and clean up. Somebody says, what are you doing? Say, hey, I'm being a good Samaritan. I'm cleaning the park. But what you're doing is you're coming home and you're composting, because I doubt that they spray. But, you know, if you think they do, then don't collect that. Your neighbor's got weeds, go chop it down for them. If it's big and green and beautiful, oh gosh, pull that and bring it home and stick it somewhere, and it can't go bad. Don't worry if it's got to sit for a month or two. It doesn't matter. Whenever you get to it, it can't go bad, because the darker, the browner it gets, the better it is and ready to use. And I use it green or brown or yellow, or it doesn't matter. So I hope I've given you something to think about. I'm going to go back into the garden or make a fountain. And with that, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Grow something, eat something. Bye-bye. If I wave, they're all gonna go. Watch. No, I guess they're not. Hey guys. No, there's not that many here right now. They've been coming and going all day. I love those swinging ones. Let's see, where is it? Right around those two. That keeps the squirrels out. They can't get into it. They might be able to reach a little bit with their paw, but they can't get much. But it keeps the doves out. So this way, when the finches come in to eat, there's always food. When the doves come in, they wipe everything clean. So the doves will have to go to the bowls, and the smaller birds always know that there's food in there. Have a great day again. Bye-bye.